brothers. And the Lord said so. Even when Christ was here, he said, woe unto you, Chorazin, for if what had happened in you had happened in the Vale of Siddim, they would have existed until this day. But your parents were Hittites and Amorites, and you have tolerated evil because you were embarrassed to stand up strong for the Lord. Not politically correct. Now, God doesn't give us license to be snobbish or snobbish. We may humbly represent him under all circumstances. God said to Abraham, if you find me 10 people in Sodom, I'll spare them. You ever read that? Will you ever read this? Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 1. God says, run to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem. Not Sodom, but this was God's church. He said, run to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem and see now and know and seek in the broad places if you can find a man. Not 10. Just find one. And I will spare the city. At that time, they had hit a new low. And God challenged his prophet and said, you run through the street. Look in the dark corners. Look everywhere. Don't find 10, just one. And I will forgive. And they couldn't be found. We commit our biggest sin when we try to become smarter than God. When our own ways are more important than his. And we'll actually come to the place we don't want to hear the truth anymore. It's boring. It's not exciting. We want something emotionally stimulating, and that's all we want. And we want something easy. Easy. Jesus is about to come. The world entering the final judgment, and we're looking for something easy.
Through me, say, let not burst, and true, sing, forsake you, say, let not burst, and true, forsake you, everybody ought to write them on the tablets of your heart. Come on, Miracle City, put your hands together. Help us sing it. Sing, write them on the tablets of your heart. On the tablets of your heart. Come on, team, let's sing it together. Oh, I am the way, the truth and the life. No one leads to Father except that he calls through me.
Everything. Fauci is an evil tyrant. He's a bad person. And he now knows that he's got the tiger by the tail and he can't let this thing go until we're through the pandemic so you can pretend like we're at victory. Because everyone's going to say, hold on a second. Why did we do all this crazy crap? So he's got to keep it going until the virus naturally recedes, at least in the springtime. Then all of a sudden they'll declare victory for the virus and say, don't destroy us in the midterms, Americans, please, please. No, destroy them in the midterms. Here's Fauci, though, on how we're not back to normal. Gee, no surprise. I wonder why. Watch.
Acceptable control is when the level of infection, but particularly and more importantly, the level of severe disease that would lead to hospitalization essentially is integrated into the general burden that you have of infectious diseases, particularly during the winter months. For example, with respiratory syncytial virus, parainfluenza, and even influenza. If we get there, which I hope we do, and I believe we can, then you're going to start talking about looking at some real returning to the kind of normality that we're all craving. Today, we're not there.
treasurer of the church. So I'm riding down with the pastor, and I complimented this man to the pastor. I said, you know, he makes a good impression. Pastor said, would you like to know what he used to do? I said, what? Said he's a convict. A what? Yeah, he came out of the penitentiary. What was he in for? Stealing? Now he's the treasurer of the church. Come, ye blessed of my Father. Whoever you are, whatever you've done, come. Join the royal line. I ask permission to tell you this story as I close. The pastor sitting here, I asked his permission. There was a mother doing the best she could with her children. She had a son who despised every counsel, every worship period, everything she tried to direct him to do, he hated. He could hardly wait till he was old enough to go on his own. And finally the day came, as ultimately it will, and he left home in a huff, and for 2 or 3 years didn't contact that grieving mother, didn't care about her at all. Now let's switch to where he is. He's practicing every known perversion he can think of, while using drugs and destroying himself. And suddenly he comes down with AIDS. They've got him locked up in a prison. If he just wanted a bed and 3 hots, he's got it. But he's in a different part of the prison, isolated. And they had a policy that when a prisoner is nearing the end of the road, you ought to try to contact family somewhere. So they kept checking until they found his mother. And being a mother, she got herself together and made a beeline for that prison. Where is my son? Oh yes, we got him here, and we'll allow you to see him, but there's some things we want to tell you. He's eaten up with AIDS. He's nearing the end of the line. And he's so vulgar and profane that he uses awful language. If you just open the door, he throws things, including his own filth. I want to see him. They led her down to where his cell was. She said, unlock the door. Oh, no, ma'am, we don't think that's wise. We better not do it. Unlock the door!